been a little while since I've made one of these longer form videos. Things are moving along. I have actually a little bit of time before the natural light outside fails. The sun has already set from my perspective, though it has not dipped below the horizon yet. But anyway, I like the natural light. But anyway, the news, I guess, is that I will be making another trip back to where I grew up, and for the purpose of collecting whatever remains that I wish to salvage and keep of anything and everything that I've kept or collected up to this point in my life. Because if I don't go back and get it, it'll just be, thrown away. And a lot of it doesn't have any, significance or relevance to anyone else. But to me, it's, memories and parts of my childhood, and not all of it is, worth keeping around. I always just had it was like a time capsule, and I liked knowing it was there. Not that I would ever really do anything with any of it, but I just liked knowing it was there. But now, with selling off the property, it's like, well, got to do something with it. It can't stay there forever, unless somebody was willing to maintain and pay taxes and things like that on it. It's like, but no, I'm not really interested. It was an option. If I wanted, I could have taken it, as long as I compensated the other party for their half. But it's like, I don't want it. And during this time, the situation is like, well, it's going to get taken care of, unless I wanted to interfere or interrupt with the process and say that I want it. It's like, but I don't. So it's like, I'll let it be. Let the whole thing be dismantled and taken apart, and because I don't want to entangle myself and become property of the property. So it's like, now is the time to kind of liquidate and I guess make peace and say goodbye. And because it was always going to have happened, because I never wanted to really to go back there and live. It's like I left when the time was right, and going back has always just felt wrong. So that's why I never went back. I'd feel guilty about not wanting to, like I was supposed to. But it's like, no, it's my life. I don't have to do anything. Unless I said I was going to and had made arrangements, but I never did, and I never wanted to. I left for a good reason. And I stand by those decisions, even if they didn't turn out exactly like I had thought. I didn't really have any plans in the first place. And everything that happened, it was going to have happened in some way. But luckily for me, perhaps my saving grace, or one of them, was that I did make the choices that I did, because my ultimate behavioral pattern at the time was, involved, heavily consuming alcohol every day. And that was going to arrive in a form of disaster in one way or another. And at least where I ended up moving, there was some element of protection and observation and assistance when I needed it. Whereas if I had stayed where I was in my hometown, it's like, who knows? And I was already starting to get into some trouble, and it was becoming difficult for me to navigate my own life. And I was becoming more and more isolated. So anyway, besides that, because it isn't the nicest of stories, and it's a very messy story, and I haven't really told it in one go. Um, and I'm not now either. Another time, I promise. But tonight was just about watching the light fade and saying about how things are moving along, and business back there is settling slowly. We'll see how fast everything happens. It could take weeks, or it could take years for everything to be said and done. Paperwork and insurance and lawyers, and making sure that everybody gets their due, their recompense, compensation, money from lives lived and now spent. And the survivors, or the ones that are left behind, are given their share. So I'll be making a trip in a couple weeks and going to collect belongings from my childhood, and making some videos and documenting whatever I care to, because it'll be the last time I'm ever there. Which is just crazy, at least in that house, on that property, because I will have no further business being there. I can't imagine. So once this trip is done, that's it. So it's like get what I want, and leave the rest, because it will be gone. So, and I'm like talking everything from my childhood and adolescence and young adulthood. And so it's like, because if it has barely any significance to me, it has no significance to anybody else. And there's nothing really of any value. So, I mean, a lot of it is just, garbage. And but to me, some of it at least has some sentimental value. But I don't know how much of that is going to be enough to keep it, to want to be moving it around for the rest of my life. There is a certain point where it is and does become necessary to let things go. Even if it's like little things, but big things too, like tokens. They only have as much importance as what I give to them. But it's like, oh, my own memory of them, is that enough? Or do I want the physical object? Like, I know exactly where certain things are. And it's like, I like knowing that they're there. But then they're just not there any longer. I don't know where they are. And does that matter? I don't think it does. It's just like when anybody around me, that I cared about or loved, or was a family member, they move away or they pass away. Everything about them is gone that I knew. And even just as time goes by and people get older, or people, things happen, or they move away, or things change, or it's life. And I don't have any control over it, or much, all the things that happen without my observation. It's like, I can't be there everywhere to see it all. And I only just have the one life. And I try to make the most of it the best that I know how. And it's like, maybe I'm not using my time correctly, but who knows what that is, or what even that means. And it's too stressful to always be preoccupied with, if I'm using my time efficiently, I have to be like so efficient, and I have to be happy to this level at all times, and represent that I am this happy, or this satisfied, or this content, or this productive. And if I'm not being productive and happy, then I should feel bad, because I should be more productive, I should be more happy. And if I'm not, then there's something wrong with me, and I should feel bad, and I should be seeking solutions about being more productive and being more happy, because I must be doing something wrong. That's the implied effect. that you see all these self-help and thoughts and exposés and writings and videos on life hacks and ways to make yourself better, make your life better, more productive, more happy, and ways to think about things. And it's like, it's very stressful thinking about how badly I'm living my own life according to online documents. So I mostly have just been trying to not pay attention and just live my own life. If I want to feel bad about myself, I know exactly how to do that. It's like, but I tend to, when left alone, left to my own devices without, outside influences, I tend to feel okay about myself. But when I start looking at other people's lives, that either real or fiction, imaginary or what, I start to feel bad about myself. It's like, look at all these people; they're doing so much better than me. They seem so much happier. They seem so much more productive. They write better. They create better. Everybody just looks better. These are all these ideals and standards that I can't possibly live up to. It's like the popularity contest, the human race. It's like I have difficulties enough with just being myself and living the life that I've found or was kind of laid out before me. So I am not tasked, and I do not seek to take up these lives that are being advertised as being for sale, because everything is about cost of admission, and there's always a hidden price associated with all of it, and people are just selling a product, and it might be a physical product, or it might be a philosophy, or an idea, but it is for sale, and it might just be marketing to get people to click on their links to then try to sell them something as mundane as a t-shirt. Buy into what I am saying, and then also then buy this t-shirt. So I don't know. I personally do not subscribe to much of that. So anyway, I get, what am I doing here? What am I doing? It's like, well, I'm here. That's all I know. And I'm just creating an archive for myself, mostly, of what life was like. And I like to think that I'm doing this for the future, for myself to be able to look back on, if I choose, of how things were going for me, how I was feeling, how I was thinking at the time. And or maybe it's a record for somebody I haven't met yet, so they can see what life was like for me before I met them. I think it's a cool thing. I like the idea, and I also like the idea that if, as far as like my history of alcohol abuse, and also I smoked cigarettes for a long time, and I've been quit from them for a long time too. I'm in my 4th year of quitting smoking, which I feel really good about. I like my life not smoking a lot better than my life with smoking. And it's the same thing with drinking. I like my life better without drinking than I did with, because living, it's like I couldn't physically live or mentally live like that ever again. But that doesn't mean that it's like if I ever did drink again, that would spell, well, it's a bad tidings, ill omens, or is it ill omens, bad tidings? It wouldn't be good, and there would be consequences, the ramifications of which I do not know, and I don't want to know, and I don't have to know. So I just don't chance it. Don't tempt fate. Because, yeah, I had a hard enough time already. And the light is failing. You can see it getting darker and darker, but I don't want to turn on any lights. So it would interrupt the flow. So, anyway. But this is also a record of like what was going on, and what would, in case something did happen. This is leaving a record of that I was doing okay up until, and then this happened or that happened, and all of a sudden I was having problems, or who knows. So it might be like for myself to be like, oh, so I can like pinpoint where something went wrong. Well, every day stuff goes wrong, but it's not up to me to decide what wrong or right is. I'm not capable. So any day and every day has difficulties and struggles, and I could make a choice any day that that's a good reason or that's a good excuse to return to past behaviors. But to what end? For what reason? To what what good would come of it? None. I am, despite my difficulties with life and reality and interpreting situations, I'm far better off dealing with it without chemical influence. So, and as soon as I start giving that up, giving that freedom away, then I just become a prisoner again, my own hostage, a captive, and a slave to a chemical. And it's like, I don't want that again. I lived that way for long enough. And I learned what I had to learn. And I got out. Or I was let out. That's my stomach, by the way. I don't know if that comes up on the recording, but it's gurgling a little bit. So, anyway. This isn't the best of recordings, of course, but it is what I've got. And I do like talking in the longer format. And I did notice that there's a little bit of interest in some of it. So it's like it's been a little while. So I thought I'd put something else out there into the world that wasn't there before. If it's actually any good or anybody cares or notices, or it's there. And really, none of what I'm doing is about trying to create a name for myself or become an influencer. Too many people really kind of, I find, inhibiting. The more attention I get, the more reserved I become. The traveler that pulls their cloak tighter around themselves to brace against the wind. So, I do better when I feel like I'm not observed. I feel more natural. And a lot of times, it's only when I feel like I am alone, or I forget that I'm actually recording this and I'll be putting it up where other people can see. When I completely, because it's easy for me to kind of forget and detach from that reality, just kind of live in a temporary, disassociated state, where I'm just kind of pleasantly unaware of other people, because it's so quiet. But here I am recording something privately and going to have put it up on public display for anyone to watch or do whatever. But I thrive and rely on the fact that I'm a nobody, and not many people are going to watch, and hardly anyone is going to really even care. So I feel safe enough. But as soon as if I ever did get more people watching, all of a sudden this sort of thing, this kind of stops. People ask questions, or they want explanations of why this or why that, or what was this referring. It's like, I don't know. It stands alone. All of this, it's a standalone. It's not going to get an explanation. It just is. And it's what life was like for me at the time. And if that's not enough, then I don't know what is. Because I'm not trying to compete or perform or really entertain. Because I'm just not, my thoughts don't swing that way, I guess. I'm not about winning. Because I don't win. It's like people just, my entire life have just set me up for expectations that I was never able to ever attain. They just assumed that I was going to do well. And I never sought to prove them wrong, but they, it's just like, I don't know what people see in me, but it isn't there. I am effectively less than meets the eye. So looks can be deceiving, but it's not by intention. It's just how it is. So I'm not looking for any sort of grand success or ultimate achievement or living legacy. No, I'm just trying to live just a regular life. And if I happen to do anything of any great note or, help or some cause, or that's kind of bonus. But it is not my mandate. I can live and find some satisfaction and contentment without any sort of greatness or success or achievement. Just a regular life, please. Thank you. And that'll be enough. It's better. Everything that I do these days is better than how it used to be for me. It's something I like to say. It's because it's true. And I can't ever really say or explain or justify or qualify all of it. If anything, I can only just barely scratch at the surface of all of it and how it came to be that I'm sitting here talking to a computer and going to be recording for a channel that existed for a long time but never got any content. All of my plans or thoughts about it never went anywhere because I was just... That's a lot of how my life just kind of always was. I was just always going to get around to it eventually. Never did. My neighbors are getting home, so that means I should go. I don't like to be talking. Because if I can hear them, they can hear me. And it's getting dark anyway, so. And the picture is getting kind of pixely. So, anyway. Well, I hope this turned out okay. Just me rambling, so you get what you pay for. So, anyway, I should go. Good night. Until next time.